Okay, let me ask you a dumb question, and that I've been meaning to ask for a while now. William is a genius, no doubt about it. Bro managed to start a successful business and the fun times during the 80s. So he looks down on the Springlock suit knowing, or at least thinking, that it'll make the ghosts vanish or trick them. Now, the whole appeal of a Springlock suit is that it is both animatronic and suit. Keyword both, not inseparable. I mean, if it was, William could have just, removed the animatronic before jumping in, but he doesn't. Also, notice how Golden Freddy is nowhere to be found in the Follow Me minigames. In fact, nothing in the games ever implies the endoskeleton can be taken out of a Springlock suit. You could argue the back room of Fredbear's, but at that point in the timeline, they had merchandise, and Freddy's had opened at that point, which didn't use Springlock suits on stage. I say all of this because I think everyone's wrong, at least about this one point. Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, Jeremy, and Cassidy weren't part of the 1985 missing children's incident. I think everyone jumped to that conclusion. But this takes me to the first game. See, if the player unlocked Night 7 and put the numbers 1987 into the combination, it would cause a Golden Freddy jump scare. I think pre-Dream Theory being debunked, this was referring to the bite of 87 being caused by Golden Freddy, which would later be retconned as the bite of 83. So, how is this date still associated with Golden Freddy? In the second game, we clearly see a withered Golden Freddy who must exist to some extent, given Shadow Freddy is a replica of the same suit. This is presumably one of the suits either locked in the safe room or a spare, as mentioned by Phone Guy. Shadow Freddy is, in modern canon, implied to be the shadow of the original MCI, trying to set the souls free, hence why it would know where the safe room is at the FNAF 1 location. And if this is the case, we know in FNAF 6 that the spring bodysuit was used to lure, at the very least, Susie. And while many believe the tapes to be recorded at the 83 location, or 85 location, whatever you want to refer to it as, they forgot that the Phone Guy mentions that the animatronics being able to move is a new feature as of FNAF 2. And he is referring to the animatronic part due to it saying that the Springlocks follow sound feed, implying that this happens to happen around the invention of the toys, or the updating of the toys. This would mean the spring bodysuit was used around this time. If you couldn't tell what I'm getting at here, I believe the main cast aren't the 1985 missing children's incident, but rather the Save Them children. Hear me out. So the Help Thems were lured to the back by a mascot. It's 1985, so Fredbear is still a prominent character. Everybody knows him. So William is easily can lure children to the back room by just saying, "Follow me." First was the girl who possesses Withered Chica, and he would end up leaving 4 kids on the floor but stuffing one into the Golden Freddy suit, probably trying to stage a Springlock failure. After all, you can't arrest someone who's presumably dead. But the cameras caught William. To his surprise, the puppet had hidden the children inside of the suits, giving them the gift of life, while Golden Freddy would just go on to possess the suit that he was already stuffed inside of. Given the circumstances, it behaves like a ghost. It's stuck in its suit form after all. This event creates a shadow, taking the form of the murderer, and also fitting the theme of the animatronics they were stuffed inside of, that being the withered animatronics. And to the people that disagree with me and ID's fantasy about the placement of Follow Me, just remember that Shadow Freddy has only had one canonical look, and that is as Withered Golden Freddy. There has never been a FNAF 1 Freddy, Shadow Freddy, in the canon, ever. Now, continuing the story, William would end up killing 5 more using the Spring Bonnie suit in 1987. The puppet, being locked inside of its box, would get the Withers to go and save the children, putting them inside of the toys. This would explain the use of Toy Bonnie for Shadow Bonnie, since Spring Bonnie's suit was used, and the souls would end up inside of the toys. Then, after FNAF 2 was closed, and before the old place opened, the Help Them kids would then be called back by a shadow of their killer to the safe room, where William would end up destroying them. Golden Freddy would end up scaring William into the Spring Bonnie suit, getting him spring-locked. And what happens after this gets a bit confusing. I believe that the toys would have then been used to make the FNAF 1 crew, and that the puppet would end up giving these suits life. And then Michael would end up taking them apart, looking for phone guy, the whole story, you know. There's just one issue with that, and it's this.
He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together. Are they still aware? I hope not. It keeps me awake at night. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this. He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there again. He overpowered them again. And he robbed them of the only thing that they had again.
See, this implies that the help thems have to still be around, but again, there's no way for them to be here. Here's how I've fallen short. What if it's the Molten MCI and the Rockstar MCI, allowing both sets of children to be there? But given the fact that I agree with ID's fantasy about Sister Location's placement, the Withers would have to be despirited as of FNAF 2 in order to have Molten Freddy be possessed by those spirits. As much as I want to shove Agony in the blank of how the Withers would still be able to move, it's pretty intended that the Withers are still possessed, given the Save Them minigames inclusion of Withered Freddy and Golden Freddy, both looking very much possessed and not Agony based. Not to mention, the way Henry words it, Follow Me was the collection of something, but what did William take? Their lives? Because Henry is planning to redestroy them again, so that would make sense. So before you go using this as a way to debunk Sister Location taking place in 1986, remember that FNAF is littered with issues like this, and I felt looking at this plot point from this light helped narratively pre-FNAF 6. There is always that answer, that both MCIs ended up in the same body at some point, but it kind of seems like a stretch because nobody liked the idea of two souls being in one body, but that theory would imply that there are actually three inside of Golden Freddy. And we could also run with the idea that the mediocre Melodies are possessed by one, and that the Rockstars are possessing the other, and that Henry kind of just shelved those old endos until, they made the Rockstars, which would work, excluding, Withered Golden Freddy having nowhere to go, and the fact that they were kind of in a budget crisis and wouldn't really shelve endoskeletons just for the belief that they could be possessed. There's just too many pieces of evidence to support this idea, but it falls short with just that one speech. So I'll leave it up to you and my future self to try and see if I can make this idea work in any way, and if there's any holes in the timeline that I can stake this through. But until next time, matane.